What up, what up? Welcome back to the channel. I'm MoedotJ and we are locked in. This is episode 6 of Ozarks. And man, right when you think things are going good, it goes bad. And then Marty, the brains of the operation, has to go back and try to figure out how to save the family and keep the drugs flowing for Shaw Pharmaceutical. And we seen Ruth, she went in and she actually went and got all the drugs while Marty was out there. He was supposed to be holding off the security guard, but ended up getting beat up. But before we jump into this episode, shout out to the notification gang. If you're new to the channel, you want to be a part of it, hit the subscribe button, turn on your notification bell so you get something every time I upload. Hit the like button. That's the easiest thing you can do. The last thing we seen was Darlene having a heart attack. We start the episode off with Agent Miller and they're watching the trucks. Now, you know they've been seizing trucks from the Navarro cartel, such as guns and money. This is because Navarro, if he wants to walk away free from this, he has to give up something. So they have a truck here, they have it on drone footage and they're watching it, and they have a SWAT team following it. Now, out of nowhere, the guy stops and runs away from the truck. And Agent Miller is saying, what's going on here? Well, it turns out it was a setup. The guy got out and ran because he knew that the cops would get close. They do a little heat scanner in the back. So the thermal said there was no one back there. It was a little bit cold. Miller hears this over the radio and she tries to tell him to run and the truck blows up. Now, back when I was in the military, I would go respond to this. If a bomb or something was to go off, I would go respond and we will see if there's any nuclear weapons, any chemicals, anything like that that spread. We'd have to do a little bloom of which way the smoke is going just to make a cordon and, you know, set up a perimeter around of it. But yeah, that's what I would do in the military. The 4 signs we need to look for this episode: it looks like a bottle cap, cherries, it looks like some coffee and creamer, and a stethoscope. The first sign we have is the stethoscope. Now, Darlene is in the hospital because she had that heart attack, and Wendy kind of watched her suffer a little bit. But she's in here and the doctor says, we checked your vitals. You're doing all right. You hear Darlene saying she wants her son to go for a walk. Now, she's talking about little Zeke, but the doctor sees Wyatt and she's like, oh, I'm sure he wants you to stay here, thinking that Wyatt is her son. Now, you see the age difference. I would think the same thing. He's either your son or he's your grandson. I wouldn't think you guys are exchanging saliva. Darlene is telling Wyatt she doesn't want Ruth at the house anymore because she's doing certain things that Darlene doesn't approve of. Darlene said, this isn't a hippie farm. We're running things the way I want to. Now, Wyatt is saying that's my cousin and I love her, but you got to understand, you got to respect what Darlene wants. This is her property. This is her drugs. Agent Miller gets home and she calls Marty expeditiously. Hey, what happened? A truck blew up. Why would Navarro do this? Marty's like, a truck blew up? Wendy, call Navarro right now because they got to figure out what's going on, because they know that this is just making things harder. If Navarro was blowing up stuff when they're trying to cooperate with the FBI, this deal is never going to go through. Wendy calls Navarro and he's in here chilling because he know what happened, but he didn't instruct this. Javi did. You remember Javi was already suspicious that all these trucks were getting seized and he thought it was Marty because Marty has an agent who is Miller. Navarro, he's not trying to hear none of that. He said, tell the FBI I want to meet with them today, not tomorrow, not next week. We want to start this deal today because he sees how dangerous it's getting out here. Jonah's been watching the baby because Ruth is out and about with Marty trying to help them run some things. Darlene and Wyatt, they're at the hospital. So Jonah's been coming over and he's been actually watching the baby. So this is how his connection and bond with Ruth is starting to build up. But he begins to ask her about her mom and she says that her mom was coming home and she ended up getting hit in a hit and run. So other than that, she was just raised by her, her dad and her uncles, and all they did was teach her how to break and enter in houses. Wyatt gets home and he just got orders from Darlene that she doesn't want Ruth in the house at all. And when he gets there, he's asking her, why do you keep messing with Marty? Well, the reason Ruth did that is because they needed money. Whatever they had going on with the KC mob, with her killing Frank Sr., all that's going to blow back on them. And also with this deal with Marty, they got $100,000 on top of it. So what she's trying to do is convince Wyatt that we're going to get enough money that we can get out of here and we can leave Darlene. But Wyatt, he ain't hearing that. He kind of wants to stay. Wendy meets with Jim, the guy that makes everything happen behind the scenes. The guy that fixed a little scandal with the senator, who also, when that $150 million came up, he started talking to all the other politicians to make things happen. But since he's their lawyer now, since Helen is gone, he has the attorney client privilege where you can't tell anything. So he wants to know exactly what's going on. Now, Wendy explains that they launder money for the Navarro cartel, but Navarro wants to break a deal with the FBI to turn himself in. And Jim, they want you to be the lead on this. Now, we're going to try to set this deal up. Marty, his connect is Miller. Wendy is dealing with their lawyer. Now, Miller and Byrde, Mr. Byrde, they come up to the FBI headquarters because in order to do this deal, the lawyers are going to want to talk to Marty in person. Now, he's telling Maya, after all of this is done, if you want a job, we know how good you are. You can come work for us. Leave the FBI. And this will work for both parties because she'll know where to look and she already has FBI connections. And Marty is good enough to cover up his tracks. When they get up there, they're talking to Miller's boss. Now, she's upset. She's telling Marty, no, we're not going to accept Omar Navarro right now because you just targeted FBI agents. There are people wounded right now. So she's saying, no, there's no deal right now. But in comes the top boss. And Miller tells him not to worry about who that is, but he's over everybody's. And he tells Marty, prove that Omar Navarro didn't have nothing to do with this bombing, and we'll worry about everything else later. Meaning, maybe if we can put this on Javi some type of way. But that's what they're doing. I say it in other shows. It doesn't matter who did something. It's who you can prove did it. And if you can say that Navarro didn't do it and someone else did, give us them. Wendy goes and pays a visit to her best friend, Darlene. Darlene says, what are you here to finish me? Wendy's like, no. But just a heads up, you leave my son Jonah alone. And she's saying Jonah loves Zeke. He's more with us than he is with you. And Wendy starts to explain, we took your land from you, right? We built a casino on your land. Do you want us to take everything from you? And Darlene, she's sitting there and she's listening because she knows Marty and Wendy do have some pull. The doctors come in and Wendy says, y'all make sure y'all take care of her, touching her foot, talking about this one. She's still delicate. Pretty much sending a shot at Darlene to let her know, keep playing around. We got something for you. Marty gets out of the meeting. He hurries up and calls Omar. We need to give him Javi. Now, Omar is saying, look, me showing up and showing my face should be good enough. Figure it out, Marty. And he hangs up on him. Of course, I told you in the intro, nothing ever goes as planned. And Marty has to figure out a way to make this happen. Because when Omar hangs up on you, there's no calling back. It's like, hey, did you accidentally hang up on me, Omar? No. It ain't none of that. Figure it out. Javi shows up to talk to Omar about this. Now, Omar is telling him, okay, you blew up a truck. Okay, nice of you. I wouldn't have done that personally. But what Omar is doing is he's putting the plan in play for himself. Now, what he's telling his nephew, Javi, is, I'm getting too old. I want to see my kids. I'm going to step down from the organization. I'm going to put you in charge. Now, when you think about it, with him saying that he didn't blow up the trucks, him giving over the whole cartel to Javi, hey, I'm not in it. You want to get Javi? Here you go. Darlene gets out the hospital and Ruth is standing there with a bag of money. Darlene don't want to hear none of that. Where's my son? Where's Zeke? And Wyatt's like, Ruth, come outside. What are you doing? I told you she doesn't want you here at the house. She just got out the hospital for a heart attack. You gonna give her another one? But she's saying, look, we got enough money. Let's just get out of here. Now, they don't have a plan on where they're gonna go, but she wants to get up out of here. The family, they're planning on moving back to Chicago. Once they turn in Omar, there's no more debt. There's no reason to stay down in the Ozarks. They will still have a casino, but then again, all that might get turned in. But they'll still have enough money that they can go back to Chicago and live their normal lives. Now, Jonah, he's down here. He didn't have any friends in Chicago. When they moved to the Ozarks, the old man became his friend. And then his Uncle Ben was his other best friend. So he wants to stay down here in the Ozarks. Wendy gets a call about a body that looks similar to Ben. Now, we know Ben is dead. They put him in the crematorium. They got rid of him. But since there's missing posters up, and she's out here advocating to get these rehabilitation centers, she has to at least go along with this. Because if she doesn't show up and her brother's been missing and it's a body, it's going to look bad. So she's saying, okay, I'll be there. And you hear Marty saying, that's not him, right? Javi shows up to the casino to tell Marty, guess what, Marty? I took over the whole organization. I want to look at the finances here. We got the casino going. I just want to look over a few things and make sure that everything is running smoothly since I'm the boss now. Marty's saying, all right, let's go to the office then. When they get in the office, Javi is going over things and he's looking and saying, okay, this is good. But he's already suspicious about everything that's going on. He already accused Marty once of being the mole. Well, he didn't outright accuse him, but he was saying it's either him or Maya. But what he's trying to do is, once things start running smoothly again, he's going to get Marty out of this casino and send him to somewhere else and have him start running that one to get it up to speed like the Missouri Belle. And now he's asking Marty about Agent Miller. Since I'm in charge now, I'm telling you, you're going to have to put me in touch with her. And Marty's saying, nah, she'll only talk to me. Javi says, okay, for now. But I'm going to want her contact information, especially since I'm the big boss now. Marty calls Omar and says, hey, your nephew came down here, was pretty much planning out when he's going to kill me and my family. What are we going to do with this? We need to get him. And what does Omar say? He's in the Ozarks. Get him. Figure it out, Marty. He runs the organization now. You need to figure out how you're going to catch a Javi, because I'm turning myself in. That doesn't have anything to do with me. It will never be Omar turned in his nephew. No, Marty and Agent Miller caught his nephew, because he's still going to have this honor amongst thieves. The third symbol is the bottle caps. And this is Jonah trying to open up a beer bottle, but he's struggling. During this conversation, he's telling Ruth, don't get too close to my family, because any of their business partners, something usually happens to them and it's bad. Ruth sees him struggling, so she goes over there and helps him. But she's trying to tell Jonah, you should stick to money laundering. She kind of made a joke about it, but you should stick to money laundering because this is what you're good at. Also, she needs him because Marty isn't helping. Wendy and her father, they go to identify the body that they said is Ben. When they get there, Wendy's looking at it, and even the dad can tell this isn't their, his son and her brother. But they go in there and they identify it, and it's not it. But what do they tell each other? Wendy tells her dad, all right, bye, drive safe. But he wants to sit down and actually talk to her because they haven't had a conversation in a while. Another sign is the coffee and creamer. Wendy is sitting down with her father, and what they're supposed to be trying to do is rekindle the relationship that they had. But unfortunately, it doesn't go that way. She's talking about her rehabilitation centers. He's bringing up that these two were never close, and she lied about her brother being addicted to drugs. So this whole conversation, it was just a sit down. They didn't even get to finish their coffee before Wendy gets up and storms off. So this whole thing between her and her father didn't have any kind of outcome. We're back to where we started. No conversation. Frank Jr. goes and talks to his dad about the little plan that he had. And his dad is telling him, Junior, don't do none of this, Frank. Just be happy. I'm the mob boss. What you're doing is dangerous. You're messing with Darlene and Ruth and all of them. Don't do that. We already seen that he cut off the distribution paths for Darlene. But what did Frank Jr. do? He went to Ruth. He got some money on top of it. And he's telling his dad, I'm ready for it. Put me in the game. But his dad is like, no, we're not doing that. That's just silly. Now he needs to go down there and talk to Darlene because he doesn't want Darlene messing with his son because he knows how unorganized they are down there. Wendy calls up Jim because she wants to know what would potentially happen if Jonah gets arrested for all of this money laundering. Well, he's a juvie. He might go to a detention center for a little bit, but his files would be sealed. And technically, files are never really sealed. If you know the right people, you can get them unsealed is what Jim is saying. But he's the lawyer now, so he needs to know all of this because, of course, he wants to get ahead of it if anything happens. Now, the reason Wendy is asking this is because she knows things could easily start closing in, especially if Ruth messes up with the drugs again. It ain't no telling. Marty heard from Omar himself. Javi's there in the Ozarks. Get him. Now, what Marty is doing is he's talking to Javi, and they're upstairs in the bar. He's getting him a drink. The FBI and Agent Miller, they're in another room and they're listening to this conversation. That's why Marty brings up, hey, that bombing you did, that was good, but you should do it like this because he wants to get a confession from Javi that he committed the bombing and he wants it all on tape. Now, what Marty is trying to do is not be suspicious and have Javi catch on to it. But you see, there's a camera up in here and there's cameras all around here. But he's telling them next time when you do it, start spreading out their shipments so you don't lose all of your product and all of your money in one shipment. If you are going to blow some stuff up, spread it out a little bit. That way we can have more trucks going. Some will get caught, but we'll also have more making it through. Frank Sr. of the mob, he comes down here to talk to Darlene because he's hearing everything that's going on. Frank Jr., he's over here buying dope from Darlene behind his back. Then they're coming back and buying things from him, which is making Frank Jr. get involved and mess up deals because he's trying to get back stuff that he already sold. It's a huge confusion. Frank Sr., he told Darlene, we don't want to do any business with you right now. But Darlene, she ain't hearing none of that. She goes and gets that trusty shotgun and she lays Frank Sr. out. You stay the fuck away from my boom. Damn, hit him in that chest. Darlene just killed the head of the Kansas City mob. Wendy is trying to get her son back. Get him out of all of this because she just heard what Jim told her. He could go to juvie. The files could be sealed, but technically they're never really sealed. So she goes over to the motel and guess what? Sam is here. And she's saying, oh, my son, he's been staying in the room here. I just want to help him out a little bit with his homework. Can I get a room key? Now, you got to understand, Jonah is doing all the finances. So the reason Wendy is here is because she wants him to stop. And Sam, of course, he's the stupid one that they hired to run the motel. So he won't figure out what's going on. He gives Wendy a key to the room. Wendy goes into the room and she's trying to log into his computer. Now she can't get in there because he has some codes. Now there's a drawer right next to it. She ends up picking the lock and on the inside, there's some account numbers and she takes a couple of pictures of them because she wants to see exactly what Jonah is doing. Wyatt runs back to the trailer park to go talk to his cousin Ruth because when he went home, he seen Frank Sr. just laying in there shot because Darlene said, oh, he was snooping around and he was being disrespectful. But now he's starting to see what Ruth is saying. We need to get away from Darlene. She's like, all right, look, let's start getting some things together and we can leave. Wyatt, you got to come with us. He's seeing everything that's going on and he's realizing, yeah, hanging around these snails, it really ain't the thing that we need to be doing. Things are starting to move fast for everybody. Javi shows up to Jim's house. Now, Jim is the lawyer for the Byrdes and he's saying, well, I used to be the boss of Helen, but now that she's gone and you're their lawyer, yeah, you're going to work for me. I need to know everything you need to know. Now, Jim is saying in America, this is a conflict of interest. I represent your clients, the people that work for you. I can't represent the boss. But Javi doesn't care. I'm not from America. I'm from Mexico. I want to know everything that's going on. Wendy isn't playing fair. We know that she showed up to Darlene and when they were in the hospital, they were talking about, do you want me to take everything from you? Well, all Darlene has left is the house, Wyatt, and the kid. She calls CPS and says, oh, Darlene, she's a nice woman, but she's a widow and she just had a heart attack. You may need to check in on that kid. You know, it just wouldn't be good for that kid to be there and live in that situation because she may not be capable of taking care of it. Once Jonah arrives back to his room, he tries to log in. But when he gets into his accounts, they're flagged for suspicious activity. It looks like there's been a little bit of fraud on here. Now, we know Wendy was just in here and she got the account numbers. So she could have done something to stop him from making any kind of transactions to try to get him to, oh, I need to go ahead and step away from it. But Jonah knows what happened here. They're talking about call the company and he's not about to call because if he calls and says, yeah, there's some fraudulent activity, I'm trying to log in, the whole thing could crumble. Marty gets here to fix it. Ruth convinced Jonah to call his dad because this will keep him out of prison and Marty knows exactly what he's doing. We even heard Agent Miller say Marty is one of the best. That's why they want him to work with the FBI to try to find people that are doing this. Now he's going in here. Was there any spikes in any of the deposits? Did you do any of this? And Jonah's like, nah, I would never do anything like that because it wasn't him. His mom did it. Jonah didn't do anything wrong. It was a flag from an outside party, meaning Wendy got the account numbers and she probably called him in or sent an anonymous tip. Now Jonah's talking about he's going to back up all of his drives. He's going to kind of cut all this off because you're going to have to give it some time. Marty put it in a different account, so we're good to go here. And he also tells Jonah, we're having family dinner. Come on back. Wyatt is finally convinced by Ruth that they need to pack up their stuff and go. So he's in here talking to 3. And he's talking to 3 asking, how can I tell Darlene that it's not her, it's me. I need to get out of this. Now 3, he's talking about the same way I broke up with my girlfriend. You need to go over there and talk to Darlene. This is how you should do it. Darlene, you need to listen to me. Wyatt's like, man, that ain't gonna work. Darlene will get to slapping people, get to shooting. But at least 3 is trying to help. 3 done got big as hell since we last seen him. We seen Ruth and Frank Jr. squash their little beef when they were trying to get that money back from the people he sold the drugs to when he split it up into 2 different batches. Now, Ruth knows that Frank Sr. is dead, so she wants to be the one to tell Frank Jr., look, my cousin Wyatt didn't have nothing to do with this. Whatever you do with Darlene, let my cousin get out of there and you can go down there and do whatever you like to Darlene. But Frank Sr., he's not coming back. So you're in charge of the mob now. Wyatt goes over there to have a talk with her. Now, he just got schooled by his little brother on what he needs to say to Darlene. But when he gets there, Darlene is crying because Child Protective Services are coming to get little Zeke at the end of the week. I told you, Wendy ain't playing fair. But in a dope game, there's no such thing as fair. You can't trust anybody. The love Wyatt has for Darlene, he's seen those tears. He loves baby Zeke. He loves Darlene. He takes Frank Sr. outside while Darlene is watching and he buries the body. This is 2 bodies this boy did buried in 1 season. As soon as Marty starts to get the things back on track, the family keeps falling apart. Wendy is out here wilding out. She messed up the accounts. The feds could have came and got Jonah. And she's talking about maybe that's what he needed. She's over here calling people on Darlene. Marty's like, what are you doing? Why are you doing all of this? She talking about, well, our son told her about what happened to the cop. Wendy, chill. Let Marty come up with the ideas, because whenever you do something, he has to get us up out of this. And he's talking about when we get back to Chicago. Ooh. But Wendy's saying our old life was a lie. Yeah, it was a lie because of you. You were the one messing around. Yeah, Marty fantasized a little bit, but other than that, Marty was going to work every day. Jonah's upset because Wendy is messing up his accounts. Marty gets a very important call, and guess what? Jonah leaves the house again. And one thing about Jonah when he leaves, he's not predictable. There ain't no telling who he's about to talk to. What is he going to do? We got to get Jonah back. There you go, episode 6 of Ozarks. Let me know what you think about this, especially with Javi starting to take over the organization. Omar doesn't want nothing to do with it because he's trying to turn himself in. Let me know what you guys think is going to turn out with Javi and Marty. I'm MoedotJ. If you like the content on the channel, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Thanks for watching. I'm out.
Jimmy on the beat, boy.